What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Facemask Fantasy. Sorry I missed y'all yesterday. Was a little under the weather for the typical Tuesday stream, the waiver wire stream for the week. Um, Thankfully, there wasn't too much to sort out or sort through yesterday. Basically, if any one of either Zach Moss or Pat Fryermuth were available on waivers, you were spending all of your fob and focus on them. It was pretty cut and dry. So I don't think I missed a significant stream as far as parsing through different waiver wire options. But I'm back today, feeling better, feeling much better, feeling good, ready to go with only 2 weeks to go, most likely in your league's regular season. Some of you may still have 3 weeks to go if you play your championship in week 18. Hopefully, you don't play your championship in week 18. If you don't, like most leagues, the way it should be, 2 games left, 2 weeks left of the regular season. So it's do or die time. Some of you maybe have clinched a playoff spot already. Spectacular. Congratulations. Good for you. You're just setting yourself up for your actual playoff run. But for most folks in most situations, that hasn't happened yet. The clinch hasn't happened yet. So there's still work to be done. So we can talk shop on that. I'll go over the most recent storylines as of yesterday. Again, since I missed yesterday, we do have our, the one advantage. I don't normally stream on Wednesday, but the advantage of doing streams on Wednesday is that we do get our first look at injury reports, practice reports for teams as they gear up for the coming week. So the first little bit of clarity is kind of coming into focus for the Sunday slate today. So we'll get into all of that. First of all, I see I got a new member. Jake, thank you for joining on. Appreciate it. Welcome to the team. Glad you think enough of this of the stream to hop on. So appreciate that. You'll be getting priority responses to questions from here on out. So welcome aboard. And if you're in the Discord, let me know as well. I'll get you into the members channels or over there. So we can go ahead and get into storylines over the past couple of days, and then I'll start taking questions. As always, general AMA. I will get to the members first. That's a perk of being a member, is your questions will jump the line. Supers, if you feel so inclined, but are not necessary. Those would also be line jumpers as far as questions and how quickly I get to them. And then I will get to everybody else. So just ask for some patience. Appreciate it. But if you are in here, hanging out, enjoying the discourse, enjoying the conversation, I only ask that you like the stream. That helps for algorithm purposes. Thanks in advance. Let's get into it. Like I just said, yesterday, whether waivers ran for you last night or whether waivers run for you tonight, it's pretty cut and dry here. Jonathan Taylor's got a thumb injury. He had surgery on it, or he's in the process of getting surgery on it. I don't know if it's actually happened yet. Hopeful to return in 2 to 3 weeks is the initial time frame that we were given on Jonathan Taylor. But it sounds like it's kind of murky. It's not as clean cut as we would like it to be. It's got very much Justin Jefferson vibes, and we'll get into him in a second. As far as when Jefferson was initially placed on IR, the kind of outlook on that was that this was not going to be he's on IR for 4 weeks and that's it. He's definitely coming back right after that stint is up. The situation was fluid with Justin Jefferson. It kind of feels the same way with Jonathan Taylor. In all likelihood, your trade deadline has passed. If it hasn't, and you are in playoff position, if you very specific scenario where maybe you're in playoff position, but you could use some running back help. Everybody can always use some running back help. You can try a buy low with Jonathan Taylor, but the rest of your team better be pretty strong because it doesn't sound definitive that he'll come back in 3 weeks. which would be week 16. That's the semifinals for most leagues, and it's the playoffs no matter what league you participate in, whether your championship is in week 17 or week 18. So there's a good chance that Zach Moss is going to be an RB1 option into the fantasy playoffs. I mentioned, I guess the only, downside to not having the stream yesterday was how verbally I couldn't stress this enough, but I tried to do it in the note to the community on the channel and also in the Discord channel when I let folks know I couldn't stream yesterday. Whatever fob you have left or had left, you might as well just spend it on Zach Moss. We don't know when Taylor's going to return. Zach Moss was putting up RB1 performances in Jonathan Taylor's absence earlier in the season. Moss was the cut and dry, clear cut pick up this week because he's got RB1 upside for the stretch run for the most important, most crucial, most do or die time of the fantasy season. So I really encourage people, if you were able to get Zach Moss, congrats. Whatever you dropped for him, it was probably worth it. Assuming it was the last one, if the last guy or the second to last guy, depending on positional value in your league, it was probably an end of bench guy. In all likelihood, if you were able to get Zach Moss at the expense of whoever that was, that's a win. You'll take it because you can fire him up as early as this week against the Titans when he's going to handle the bulk of the opportunities in the Colts backfield. We'll get into, over the course of the week. I will stream tomorrow. And of course, you got me for the weekend streams, Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern, Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern, to go through start sit. We'll get into what do I start Zach Moss versus this other high-end option at running back. We'll get into those questions as the week goes on. I'm not going to try to split hairs today between do I start Zach Moss or Breece Hall or something like that. I'm not going to get into those questions today just yet. We got to let the week play out as far as the, practice reports, vibes going into the week in general, going into the weekend. We'll get into those later in the week. But for now, if you have Zach Moss, nicely done. Hopefully you held. If you had him, if you didn't have him and he was available in your league, hopefully you got him. We're looking at crunch time, and Zach Moss is shaping up to be an RB1 in this moment. Switching gears over to Justin Jefferson, he was activated. That's the other big fantasy player coming into week 13. The Vikings do have their bye this week, but he was activated. It sounds like he'll be good to go for week 14. So whether you have him or bought low on him, knowing that you would have to be patient with Justin Jefferson, hopefully you're still in playoff position. Your team just got a huge boost regardless of the results of this week. Again, if you are in pole position, if you've clinched a playoff spot, or maybe you're a top 4 team and it's just a matter of when, not if, that's great news if you have Justin Jefferson. It sounds more definitive now. Like, okay, now he's good. We waited the extra 3 weeks after the IR stint. He's going to come back without restrictions. The Vikings lost a crucial game against the Bears in week 12, one that I think they were kind of expecting to win at home, which may have played into their initial thought not to activate Jefferson heading into this game. Not only do we have a bye week, week 13, but this is a game that we should be able to win at home. Well, that backfired. So now there's no more waiting for the Vikings. If they want to make the playoffs, they need Justin Jefferson out on the field. Sounds like he's definitively ready to go in his return. He's not going to be in start-sit questions. He's just going to be in your lineup. So huge news there for anybody who held on to Justin Jefferson and are looking good to make the playoffs, or at the very least are in the hunt. And real quick, just saying hello to the members and everybody as well. But Crumply Heads, the members get the shout outs. Good to see you, man. Greg, good to see you. I will be getting into questions shortly. I'm running through the news of yesterday and today that I missed yesterday. Was a little under the weather, but feeling much better today. Good to go for tonight, tomorrow, Saturday. It's an important time of year. Um, Aaron Rodgers designated to return from IR today, so that just opens up his practice window. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I wouldn't be getting my hopes up. I wouldn't be getting optimistic. The Jets are they are not in the playoff race, and that offensive line is atrocious. You are not putting 39-year-old Aaron Rodgers out there. 3 months removed from a torn Achilles. Come on now. But his progress is incredible. That he's even throwing. It's unbelievable. I don't see a way. We'll see Rodgers again, fully healthy in 2024. Aaron Jones not practicing today. Scheduled update. Chris Olave was seen practicing today. That's significant considering the concussion that he suffered in week 12. You automatically see those injuries. You automatically assume not available the following week. And it's possible he still doesn't play, but participating in practice Wednesday is a good long-term sign for Chris Olave. So you like to see that. Still in concussion protocol, though. Would still not expect him to play this week. But great news that he's at least practicing. Rojo, Fortune, what's going on, guys? Good to see y'all. A little bit more immediate for tomorrow night, for Thursday night, between the Cowboys and the Seahawks. Running back Kenneth Walker is doubtful going into his second straight game. He was doubtful going into the Thanksgiving game and ultimately did not play. It's looking unlikely that he plays Thursday night against the Cowboys. So it'll be Zach Charbonnet for one more week. I liked Charbonnet in the spot that he was in on Thanksgiving. I thought with the amount of volume he was going to get, plus the fact that he was at home, was enough of a positive to fire him up, even though it was a tough matchup against San Francisco. That backfired. I'm not going back to the well here with Zach Charbonnet. In all likelihood, you may not have a better obvious option, and therefore he presents as a low-end RB2 this week with volume, but it's another bad matchup, this time on the road. The Cowboys are fully healthy for this game. I don't love this spot for Zach Charbonnet. He didn't give me any reason for optimism last week, and I know things are week to week in fantasy land, but given the situation, I'm not crazy about Zach Charbonnet tomorrow night. He's a low-end RB2 on volume, and I'll say his ceiling is tough to look at and think, yeah, this is a particularly high one this week. And then by then, after this game, Kenneth Walker's back. So in a shallower league, not very high stakes. I think I only got like a $20 buy-in or so. I dropped Zach Charbonnet to pick up Zach Moss. So there you go. That was probably a tougher trigger to pull in higher stakes leagues, especially keeper leagues. But just goes to show you, if a guy's got an opportunity that you feel stronger about at this juncture of the season, you kind of have to pass up. It can make sense to pass up a promising young player who it just hasn't happened for just yet this year. So not crazy about Charbonnet tomorrow night. All that to say. Tyreek Hill didn't practice. I think that's maintenance. Devon Achane is limited in practice. It sounds like he'll be okay to return. He's very difficult to trust, but again, maybe kind of like Charbonnet, you might not have a better option. Running back can and often is a thin situation for at least several teams each year. So Achane may be your only decent option at running back, or one of only a couple decent options at running back. So if he's good to go, you might not have any other choice, but man, I know I'm not worried about Achane, the player, for his career, but like right now, as far as expecting results in a must-win week, most likely, we just those excellent performances from weeks 3 to 5 are getting further and further away. There's some pause there. That's all. A lot of Cardinals are sitting out of practice. Marquise Brown, Michael Wilson, and Trey McBride. So just monitor those situations. Wilson hasn't played for the past 2 weeks, or was it just last week? I don't think Michael Wilson's played in 2 weeks, so not off to another good start this week. Jaden Reed didn't practice. Packers don't play till Monday night, so that could just be maintenance. Jerry Jeudy doesn't practice today. I mean, Jerry Jeudy has failed to meet a lot of expectations this year, so we can gloss over that one. Dalton Schultz, probably maintenance. I think we're caught up pretty much on practice reports. That's the most up to date information. Oh, Kadarius Toney fully practiced today. Okay, fully up to date on the major developments over the past 24, 48 hours, and the latest injury news as far as who practiced today, who didn't. We'll obviously keep an eye on that for the rest of this week. It's going to have major implications this week. In a must-win week, you want to play out all scenarios. You want to look at all potential angles as much as we can. So we'll monitor those injury reports over the course of the rest of the week. All right, to the questions. I know you guys have been waiting patiently. I can get to those now. Again, I'll get to the members first and then everybody else. So appreciate your patience as I work through these. Greg is the first member question I see. McCaffrey, Etienne, and Kyron. Would I bump one out for Moss? Okay, so I did kind of mention this is going to be tough to kind of sort through today. We got to get, there's time. We got to look at the matchup, do the research, do the homework. Who's got the most favorable situation? McCaffrey is a layup. You're not taking him out. But we're at the point now where with Zach Moss, you have to put him up in this conversation with the upper echelon running back options on your team. So these are really good options, but it's trying to split hairs, sorting all of this stuff out today. Let's let the week play out. Let's look at, what opposing players on the defense that your team is playing. Again, you want to look at as many angles as possible at this point in the season. Who is out? Which one of your guys is missing practice? Who on the team that your guy is playing, which defenders on that team are missing practice? Are there corners missing practice for a team that your wide receiver is playing? Are there guys along the defensive line who are missing practice on the defense that your running back is playing? You want to look at all angles. So we'll get into all of those little nitty gritty details. Zach Moss versus Travis Etienne, Zach Moss versus Kyron Williams, Breece Hall, whatever other name you want to throw in there. We'll get into those on Saturday and Sunday. So I really encourage people, if you can make the start sit streams this weekend, to do it. That's when we'll have the most information available to us to make these calls. That being said, you already know what you're doing with Christian McCaffrey. He's in your starting lineup. Now, I will say, at this point, you probably do want to go any option other than not any other option. Garrett Wilson did catch a touchdown last week. But Nico had a great week. They're at home again. Houston's playing very well. Nico's in the much better situation. So tentatively, I would say put him in. But again, we got to see practice reports, injury reports, and get a general overall vibe going into the week before I make any definitive start-sit decisions here. But Nico's in a much better situation regardless of whether Noah Brown is back or not. And so at this point in the season, good situations over good individual players for me. That's not that's not in every single solitary scenario, but a general rule of thumb, give me a good player in a good position over a good player in a shaky position. Nico Collins is in a good position. Garrett Wilson is in a shaky one. Rojo's got a dynasty question. A dynasty trade question, I think. Side A would be Burrow. Side B would be Russ and a first. And you think it'll be a late first. Those things can fluctuate. 2025, that could really fluctuate. But assume late for now and Swift. I mean, side A, side A. Unless I'm unless I think I can win the chip this year. If I think I can win the chip this year and Russ and Swift help me do that this year, if I think I got a top 2 team and this leapfrogs me in my estimation over the 1 seed, then side B. Because above all else, if you are in a position to try to win a championship this year, try to win a championship this year. So, side B, if I am a stud and I'm going for it this year. Anything else, I would probably take side A. Give me Burrow for the long haul. And if I'm anything other than a top 2 or 3 team in the league, give me Burrow. But if I am at least top 3 and I feel strongly that I am like more like top 2 than top 3, um then give me side B, give me the chance to win now, but that would be it. If I'm like the 5th or 6th best team and side B gets me to like, okay, now I'm in like that 3-4 conversation, then I'm less enthusiastic about it. And then start Dowdle or Spears. So Tennessee's got the Colts at home. Spears missed time last week with a nasty injury, but he was able to return to the game. I think that's correct. And then Dowdle, well, everybody on the Cowboys feasted against Washington on Thanksgiving. Um, I think this is going to be a little bit more of a competitive game tomorrow night. Um, and it's not a true short week game for either team because both the Cowboys and the Seahawks played on Thanksgiving. So it's weirdly not a short week for these teams, even though they're playing on Thursday. So that's ruled out the window for both teams. They're both in the same tier. I would probably play Spears, Rojo, just because you figure he's going to get on the field plenty because you know, he's going to get on the field if the team is playing from behind. And I think the Colts are better than the Titans at this point. And there's a good chance that he's on the field a little bit more frequently in a negative game script, even at home. I mean, Dowdle, he scored a touchdown last week on 4 touches. That's just random. No offense to Rico Dowdle, but touchdowns are already the highest variant statistic. Getting one on 4 touches is just it's an outlier. It doesn't happen that frequently. And I would think this is a slightly more competitive game between the Cowboys and Seahawks, which would figure for me Dowdle's going to see he doesn't see a huge snap share already. He's going to see a slightly smaller one this week, especially because it's not a traditional short week game. If it was a traditional short week game on Thursday, it's like, oh, Pollard might not get in there as much. Dowdle might spell him a little bit more. That's not the case this time. It's a 7-day, it's a normal, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? It's a 7-day break in between games, which is normal. It's not a typical short week. So I would expect Pollard gets in there a little bit more frequently, and Dowdle, whose snap share high on the year is 35%. He's only been over 30% of the snaps one time. Something tells me it's going to be, another 75 to 80% to 25-30% split in Pollard's favor. I don't want to chase that. I'll take Spears. What's up, Fortune? Yeah, I'm trying to go to the moon. That would be cool. Does Quentin Johnston suck? Yeah, I hate doing this to rookies because they're young guys and their careers are only just starting out, and it's not fair. It's never going to be fair to make any definitive statements about a player 10 games, 12 games into their career. But on the flip side, we're at the point where if you're a wide receiver and you're good, most of them are contributing right away. We're not waiting on wide receivers anymore in the way that we used to. Like 10 years ago, maybe like even, 6 or 7 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, it wasn't out of the, if a wide receiver wasn't good in his first year, it was like, okay, it's disappointing, but also it felt like it was more expected. Now, in today's NFL, these wide receivers are already good coming out of college. Like, if you're good, you're good. You're good right away. Obviously, not every situation is the same, right? This doesn't apply to every single player. Y'all know that. But Quentin Johnston is off to a bad start. He's off to a bad start. I mean, you got to catch that. You got to catch that ball on that deep shot that was in the breadbasket when your team needed that play. You got to make that catch. He might. He might. I was worried about him after the college football playoff. The college football playoff against Georgia. And I know that TCU was completely overmatched in that game, but what do you have? One catch for 3 yards? I was like, all right, man, I know that the stakes are completely against you and nobody's expecting this to be a game, and it wasn't. And they couldn't get anything going. But I was like, man, this is the level of competition that you're going to be facing. And so I know it's just one game, but these college football playoff games are the closest thing that we get to a preview of an NFL game, So, yeah, a little concerned about him. Man. He's a good athlete. Quentin Johnston's he's a good athlete, but what was it he graded poorly in? Like the 3-cone? I think it was and I don't want to like go all the way down a combine rabbit hole in November when people are working through their playoff race, but essentially he graded poorly in certain areas that just if you don't have those skills, then it's tough for that receiver to translate at the NFL level. That's where he graded poorly. So, yeah, I mean, don't sell him if you have him. He's worth a late second buy low, I guess, if somebody's willing to give up. Maybe not worth it, but if you have a throwaway pick at the end of the second round in 2025 and somebody's ready to give up on him, then sure, take a shot. But it's not a great start. So start to Fortune for between Hollywood, Christian Watson, and Cooks. Yeah, I'll try to help. I can try to do start sit questions today. I always caveat like this early in the week, Tuesday, Wednesday. I encourage y'all to come back for start sit help because my answer might change, whether it's injury, whether it's the circumstance of the game itself. Something different happens, something happens to the player, something happens to a player's teammate, like as far as an injury or whatever. Um, so Hollywood's missing practice, so I have no choice but to say like Watson, he had a strong Thanksgiving, and Brandon Cooks right now because Hollywood missed practice on Wednesday. Is that maintenance? Hopefully. Is it more than that? I don't know. Um, so Watson and Cooks for now. Yeah. I hope Quentin Johnston puts it together and isn't, we still see players, see players at the wide receiver position emerge um in their, in their second year, or they need time. But more and more often wide receivers are ready to go from the jump more frequently than they've ever been. So, not a good start for QJ. And Jake, first and again, welcome on board as a member. Good to see you. Good to have you. Um, Concerned about Javonte. Yeah, man. You and me both. He's getting the most important touches. He gets the opportunities in the red zone. And he still looks like their best back. He's still on a per play, per touch basis. Javonte still looks like their best option at running back. But Samaje Perine and Jaleel McLaughlin are taking away a ton of opportunities in the and as a pass catcher in the receiving game. They're getting in there so frequently on third down, and that is a big handicap to your upside as a running back because most leagues don't play standard anymore. Y'all, a lot of you, I get standard questions here and there, but the majority of you guys play at least half PPR. And I think most of my people who come in and out of these streams, I feel like y'all are playing full PPR. A lot of you are playing. If I had to, like, off the top of my head, I would at least 60% of you, 60 to 65% of you are playing full PPR. So if you are a running back that is not getting those opportunities on third down, the obvious pass catching scenarios and opportunity, if those are just being taken away from you because you're coming off the field, that's frustrating. It's enough to want to look for alternatives in your starting lineup because his ceiling is capped. Now, there are some times where the trend gets bucked and Javonte gets put in crucial spots. But that's, that can't be predicted on a game-to-game basis. How many third down situations can we count Javonte to be in on, depending on the game script and how competitive the game is? With some players, it's automatic. They're going to be in certain situations. With Javonte, we right now don't. So it's annoying. It is annoying. Like I would put Zach Moss for. I said I wouldn't get into the weeds about like where do I rank Zach Moss for this week, but I can tell you right now, I'll probably have him over Javonte, not because he's not a more talented player than Javonte Williams is, but Javonte Williams is giving up work to two other guys. Moss is not going to have that same situation. He'll get a break like as he needs it, but there won't be other dudes most likely mixed in. If what we saw from Zach Moss earlier in the season is any indication, he wasn't getting spelled all that frequently when Jonathan Taylor was missing games earlier this year. It was the Zach Moss show. So I can tell you right now, like, yes, Zach Moss over Javonte Williams this week. And as far as Adam Thielen, you'd rather see a good matchup than a bad one, at least on paper. They have the Bucks this week. Now, that's a good matchup on paper. The Bucks don't have a very good secondary. They've been getting torched all season long. But yeah, the problem is that Panthers offense is terrible. Bryce Young is, I thought this is, you know, I didn't even get into the whole thing about Frank Reich getting fired. I actually thought I watched a decent amount of that game because if any of y'all were listening over the weekend, I really liked the Tennessee Titans as a defensive stream because they were playing the Carolina Panthers. That's how bad they are. I'll take the L though because I did say I like the Titans over the Broncos, and the Broncos performed better. The Titans weren't bad. I think they got 4 sacks and a fumble recovery, but the Broncos picked up a safety. I think they had 2 fumble recoveries. So that's my bad. But anyway, I was watching the the Titans Panthers game because I was like, I want the Titans defense to get sacks and turnovers. I thought the Panthers offense looked a little bit better last week as a whole. Now Adam Thielen, that wasn't because of Adam Thielen. Bryce Young was running around. He extended a couple of drives with his legs, and his arm. Bryce Young actually. There were moments where it was like, okay, he's actually playing well right now. It's too few and far between though. And now they've got the debacle of they fired Frank Reich. They let they I guess they moved the special teams coach into an interim position, and then that guy got rid of Josh McCown and Deuce Staley. Like the special teams guy, he was a special teams dude 2 hours ago, but he gets to fire the quarterback and running back coach. The Panthers are a mess, dude. Panthers are a slop fest that I want to avoid. Thielen is a solid player, and it always sucks to see a veteran go down with a sinking ship with very little to look forward to. He's a wide receiver 4 week to week. That offense stinks. That the reason that Thielen was good at the beginning of the season was because Frank Reich was calling the plays. Now he's gone. Thielen's a wide receiver 4. Very little faith in that Panthers offense week to week. I thought they looked a little better this past week against the Titans, and then they fired the coach and the quarterback's coach and the running backs coach. So now Bryce Young is working with a completely different set of coaches halfway through his rookie season, which is not going well. Now he's going to have to do a whole bunch of other new stuff that new coaches want him to do. This is a shit show. The Panthers are a shit show. I am avoiding it with a 10-foot pole. Chuba Hubbard looks okay as an RB3 here and there sometimes, but this is a difficult offense to trust. And Adam Thielen at this point, for me, like you might have been able to he might have carried you through maybe like an injury. Maybe you had like Cooper Kupp and Adam Thielen was like your the guy on your bench for weeks 2, 3, 4, 5, like when he was actually doing well. Maybe he got you through the first part of the season, but it kind of feels like it's over and those days are not coming back. They're a disaster. And I don't know that I want anything to do with the Panthers, Adam Thielen included. The quarterback play is not good. The offensive line play is among the worst in the league. And Frank Reich has been a decent head coach, a pretty good coach in general in the NFL, and now he's gone. So, rest in peace, Panthers. You can try again in 2025 because they're going to stink again next year because they don't even have their own first-round pick. So, yeah, I'm worried about Javonte. He's an RB2. He's got RB1 upside and RB3 downside. And Thielen at this point, like, thanks for the first couple weeks of the season. All right, got my members, so I'm going to head back up to the top. So the first thing I see is a start sit question. It looks good for now. I mean, again, Moss over Breece Hall. Yeah, we'll make those determinations later in the week when we're splitting hairs as far as which elite running back to start, Zach Moss or other option. But for now, that looks fine. And I mentioned off the top, any drop for Zach Moss is a good one. If somebody like Gus Edwards has to be the drop, I don't. That one's a little tough, but Gus is on bye this week, and if you need the start, it's hard to blame you. So yeah, dropping Gus for Moss in an absolutely need it, gotta have it scenario, which is most people at this time of year. That's fine with me, but I would absolutely be trying to get Gus back if I can after their bye week. Uh, Trade Stroud, Jaden Reed, and Kareem Hunt for Lamar, Flowers, and Russ. You don't need a backup quarterback if you play one quarterback. So on one hand, I would say just keep Stroud. However, Flowers is a big upgrade over Reed and Hunt. Flowers is a big upgrade over Reed and Hunt, and you would have the stack with Lamar. If you don't need a win this week, then I'm actually okay with making that trade. Because you could start Russ this week and then you can drop him next week for another pickup, and you get a big. I would say you get a big upgrade going from Jaden Reed. If somebody asked me for my Jaden Reed and Kareem Hunt and gave me Zay Flowers, I would take that. I would absolutely 100% take that. So to get the big position player upgrade, I'm okay with this trade. Um, You'll get Russ. You start Russ this week in a good matchup. You can drop him next week because you're never going to start him over Lamar and pick up another position player. Yeah, I like that. I think that's fine. I think it's fine because of the big. It has nothing to do with the quarterbacks. It has everything to do with you'd be getting a big upgrade going from Reed and Hunt to Flowers. So yeah, I'm good with that. Yeah, I'm good with that. I see Callie join me. What's going on, Callie? Good to see you. Nicely done still being in a survivor pool. That's impressive as hell. I am always out of those fucking things by like the third or fourth week. Um, yeah, I mean, it's a reminder. The survivor pool is a pseudo reminder of why everybody loves the NFL because the parity is usually higher than pretty much any other league. There's random bad teams beat good teams all the time. And so, I never survived through like week 4. Um, the Chargers are on the road against New England. The Jags are at home on Monday night against the Bengals. I think they're at home. The Bucks are at home against the Panthers. And the Falcons are on the road against the Jets, I think. They are. It's a road game for the Falcons. It's a home game at Carolina for the it's a home game for the Bucks against Carolina. I'm pretty sure it's a home game for Jacksonville. It is. It's a home game for Jacksonville. That's where I'm going, Callie. But hey, I wouldn't necessarily like take survival advice from me. My track record in those pools are not good, but I mean, dude, Jacksonville at home, they just beat Houston on the road, got a big win. Now this could be a bit of a letdown game for them. They got the win in Indy, or in Houston, which is huge. That was a huge game for the AFC South and for Jacksonville's opportunities to win to clinch the division. Cincinnati could be a letdown game for them, could be a trap game because the very next week they go on the road and play Cleveland. Tough defense. I think still considered a little bit more because of their defense of in the hunt than maybe Cincinnati is, even though both teams lost their quarterbacks. But they're at home. against an inferior opponent. Cincinnati is not good. They're going to have a real hard time scoring for the rest of the year without Joe Burrow. Going on the road against a good Jacksonville team that is playing pretty well right now. They are 8-3. They're going to look to keep it rolling. They're not out of it, they're not out of it in the race for the 1 seed. Jacksonville, they're not going to get talked about. They're not going to get talked about in the chase for the AFC 1 seed, but don't tell the players that. They don't care. They are mathematically still alive for it. So, they're going to get it. They're going to get up for every game from here on out, especially at home. Trevor Lawrence hasn't played great at home. So weirder upsets have happened. But they're the team that stands out to me. The Chargers, they're on the road against a bad team, but they suck too. The Bucks, they're at home. They're probably better than the Panthers, but they're not that good. And then the Falcons, they're on the road against the Jets. I guess the Falcons are better than the Jets, but that's not saying all that much. Neither team in that game has a quarterback. So I'll take the Jaguars as somebody who usually bows out of survivor pools by week 4. Hell yeah, staying in it this long. That's awesome. Let's see. The Rams or the Chargers defense? Probably the Rams. I think the Rams are the best. The Rams are an elite stream this week. The Chargers are a fine stream, but they're down Joey Bosa. He was placed on IR, so on the road, you need your best players to step up to have the typical performance that you expect any one unit to have. You need your best players to step up on the road. They're down Joey Bosa. The Chargers are already a team that's just do we trust them to do anything right? Belichick could still draw up a good enough scheme that keeps the score low for the Chargers. Therefore, it's neutral game script instead of the Chargers playing with a lead on the road. How cold is it going to be in New England? The Chargers are coming from sunny Southern California, and they got to go play in New England. Two bad teams. What's the temperature going to be in New England that day? Yeah, no thanks. They might be fine, but there's intangibles there that I'm not crazy about. Take the Rams. And yeah, as far as Taylor's return, it's fluid. It's up in the air. We're getting similar vibes that we got from Justin Jefferson's diagnosis when he was put on IR. Hope y'all were able to grab Zach Moss. RB1 upside this week, week 14, week 15, and then who knows after that. All right. I see a trade question involving Zach Moss. Moss plus Devontae Smith, you get Eckler? No. I don't know. No. And Austin Eckler had previously been a guy that I have been saying, if you can find a way to trade for him, do it. But couple down weeks back to back. Got another tough matchup on the road this week. He's got Denver in a 4-game stretch. They are playing much better recently. The Broncos are. And they're playing better. They are on the season getting chewed up by running backs, but they've been a lot better of late. The Broncos have. with Zach Moss's elevated status, plus you have to give up Devontae Smith. Um, I say no. I would keep Moss and Smith. I would keep your two pieces. I would keep your two pieces. Yeah, agreed. I don't Eckler's really good, but a 2 for 1 at that 2 for 1, I'm not enthusiastic about. Let's see. Where am I at? I think it's Blurpy. Full PPR, 2 flex, Taysom Hill or Ferguson. So Ferguson goes tomorrow night against the Seahawks. Um, if you are an underdog, Hill Hill had a really productive day. He had a good day. He had that fumble that unfortunately capped him a little bit, but Taysom Hill was what we expected him to be. About, in that tight end 12 to 14 range. Um, he's fluky and he's clunky and he's impossible to project on a per week basis. Um, and we don't yet know the status of Chris Olave, or well, he's unlikely to play, so that would be an likely potentially increased role for Taysom Hill. Um, Ferguson, on the other hand, he's been about what you're hoping to get from a low end tight end one. He has his really good weeks, and then there will be a couple weeks back to back where he does nothing. Ferguson is more consistent. Hill is more, we can't predict this dude at all. However, he could get more opportunities. He could get more work week 13 at home, assuming Chris Olave is out. So you kind of already alluded to, you might go for the home run play in Taysom Hill. The last thing I would want to check really quick is the updated fantasy points against over the last couple of weeks to see if the Seahawks are near the. I think they've been okay against tight ends. They're middle of the pack, so it's not as so it's an okay matchup, not a great one. For what it's worth, the Lions are a terrible matchup for opposing tight ends, but Taysom Hill is not your typical tight end. The Lions do give up a lot of points to opposing quarterbacks. So, like, Taysom Hill is the biggest pain in the ass to ever try to chart. So, if you feel like you need the home run play, I agree. You might as well just go with Taysom Hill and hope for the best. Might as well go Taysom Hill and go for the best. And then if you have those first 4 in, that's fine. I don't think I would take Zach Moss out for any of those guys, and I would just lock in Pollard tomorrow night, and just forget about it. I'd rather him just go on Thursday than try to figure out which 5 on Sunday. Like, just fire up Pollard. That looks fine. I'm gonna deviate away from delving too much into Zach Moss versus these other really good running back options until later in the week when we've got our stats, we've got our matchup information, and we know who's playing and who's not. So I'll hang on to those for the Saturday, Sunday streams when we have more information. Jake, you used your first round pick on Kelsey. Yeah. He was a worthy first round pick this past season. I mean, he hasn't been his like normal, I am the Hulk, I am Superman, I am the greatest, I am Travis Kelsey, fear me. He has not necessarily been that this year, but and he didn't play week 1, but I mean, since his return, he's gone over 50 yards receiving in all but 2 games. He's gone over 60 yards receiving in all but 3 games. Um, the thing that's hurting you, I mean, he's got 5 touchdowns. Maybe you expect him to have a few more than that. Only 2 100-yard games, so not his usual, oh, he might have 4 or 5 at this point. But he does have a 91-yard, a 91-yard game, which just happened last week. And then he had 1 true clunker week 9 in Germany, where he only caught 3 passes for 14 yards. No, he has not been the Travis Kelce of the past 3 years, and certainly not last year. But he has still been pretty damn good. You prefer, I mean, at this point, yes. Would it have been better if you had taken AJ Brown and probably Stephon Diggs? Yeah, probably. But Kelce is still giving you first round production. Your team, yes, it hurts when you miss the mark on a first round pick to the point where it doesn't surpass expectations, but that's the most difficult spot to have that happen is the first round. But he's not losing you games. Travis Kelce he's not winning you games in the same manner at the same rate that he has been the past couple of years, but he's not losing you games either. And then Callie, I see your start sit question, and then I will move back up to the top again for anybody coming in or just coming in. Appreciate y'all coming in to hang out. Whether you are new or have been here before, I do get to the members first. That is a perk of being a member of the channel, and then I will get to everybody else. So appreciate everybody's patience. I will get to everybody, but I see Callie just posted a recent start question, and I want to get to that. Olave is probably not going to play this week. I know he's still going through concussion protocol. Generally speaking, players don't play the week after a concussion. They might, but the odds are not very good. And it's not Olave's first concussion either. He suffered one last year as well. So I'm assuming he's not playing. Therefore, your wide receiver is Devontae Smith. And in your flex, if you need to keep the pressure on and you need to keep scoring, then the guy is Achane. Let's see if we get Dowdle plays tomorrow night, which I understand. I would pass on him as your flex because I want to wait on Achane. And if Achane can't go, then at least you have Rice going on Sunday night. So Devontae Smith is your wide receiver. Olave's probably not going to play. If he miraculously does, then you can put Olave in your flex. I'm assuming he's not going to. So I would put Achane in. I would pass on Dowdle tonight to hold out on Achane. If Achane can't go, you have Rashee Rice. Okay. Back to the top. Let's see. Where did I leave off? Sorry, everybody. I got the Taysom Hill or Ferguson question. 8th place out of 12 in full PPR. You're 5-7. Fields is on bye, so Stafford is your QB. Okay. Who the Rams got this week? I'm blanking. I have Puka, but I'm blanking. They're at home against Cleveland. Gross. Mixon, Jones, Kamara. Jones is not practicing. Gross. Jefferson's on bye. Puka, Nico, DJ Moore is on bye, and then Waller or Pitts. I mean, if the trade deadline is still if the trade deadline is still open for you, you probably need to try to trade. Well, if he's out this week, you should probably try to trade Aaron Jones to one of the top teams in the league. Trade because he's back, and you can trade him on like, oh, you can stash him for the playoffs when he's back healthy. You can try to sell on that and just get like whoever, go to one of the top teams in the league. You could even offer, I mean, you're in eighth place. You need wins. I mean, you could look for a quarterback upgrade. You could try to trade Fields to, are there any top contenders in your league who they're hurting at quarterback? They lost Joe Burrow. Is there any, like, go to, if you are like out of the playoff race and you're trying to claw to get your way back in, the strategy is to go to the top teams in the league because you're not catching those people anyway. Let them help you beat the other teams that you're in the race with. Give them players that don't help you right now, players that are on bye or players that are hurt, and get back players from them that are on their bench, but they can help you now. Or a starter obviously be the best, but like you might not get a great return for an injured player or a player who's not available right now. But that's what you want to do. And obviously check to make sure you're not playing that team specifically. But like if the 2 seed is really good but needs a quarterback and you don't play the 2 seed again this week or next week, and they play, 2 teams that you're in the thick of the playoff race against, go to that team, offer them like a player that can't help you this week and get a player from them that can help you this week. Because they may not need that player as much, but they might be more interested in your guy. This has become kind of like advice for anybody, depending on your situation. But like, if I'm on the outside looking in, I like to go to the teams that are at the top of the standings when I have, like, whether it's mathematically calculated or it's just like, let's call a spade a spade. I'm 300 points behind this guy. I'm not going to catch him in wins like over the last 2 weeks of the season or the last 3 weeks of the season. Go to the top teams in the league that you're not going to catch and let them help you beat the other teams that you are vying for by giving them somebody that you can't use this week for somebody that you can. That's like the best blanket advice I can give. Crumply heads, Juwan, Rico, Boyd, or Guyton. Man, okay. I mean, I guess Rico. I guess Rico. He's got some upside, I guess, being in that offense. I mean, Juwan Johnson might see more opportunities if Chris Olave can't play, but like, how much do we trust that? I think you got to go Rico and just hope for the best. Unless is he on the injury report? Is Rico on the injury report? No, he's good to go. Was able to practice in full, has been removed from the week 13 injury report. Okay. Yeah, Dowdle, I guess, but I don't, because he's the running back, so he might get maybe he gets 5 to 8 opportunities. We'll see. That's tough. I don't want Boyd with Browning or Guyton with the against the Patriots. No, I'm good. And then Jawan is the only other option for me. Yeah, that's tough. And then Guyton for me, no way. Boyd had 3 catches for 23 yards. Yeah, I mean, he was having quiet games with Joe Burrow. I don't see. Yeah, no, I would go Rico and just hope for the best. Greg, yeah, good to see that worked out. Lawrence over Dobbs. Um, I mean, I got to imagine they go back to Dobbs after the bye week. Like, he was awful against the Bears, but how many of those interceptions were, I mean, 100% his fault? Like, at least 2 of those things were tipped by wide receivers. Um, like, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, at least 2 of those interceptions were, you know, drop tipped passes from the wide receivers, or yeah, bobbled and they bounced up in the air and the Bears took advantage, whatever. Dobbs has only been there for like 3 weeks. The bye week is an extra week for him to get a little bit more acclimated with the playbook. He gets Justin Jefferson back. Dobbs, I think, is still he's gonna get the week 14 start over Nick Mullins. I don't, you traded for Dobbs for a reason. If you liked what you had in Nick Mullins behind Kirk Cousins, then you don't worry about making the trade for Josh Dobbs. Dobbs, I think, comes back and plays. He would have to have I would think he would have to have another game like he did against the Bears before they put Nick Mullins in. If Mac Jones can survive 12 weeks of somehow being named the starter, then Dobbs can get like a 4th or 5th opportunity with his second team this year. uh, and that's what I have to say about that. All right, back up to the top. So yeah, I got the trade question about like if you are on the outside looking in, go to the top teams. Give them something they could stash for something you can use now. Would I drop Khalil Herbert or Roshan Johnson for Elijah Mitchell? No. I mean, do you have Christian McCaffrey? That would that would be the only thing that I could maybe see that. Um like I don't I'm not I know that Elijah Mitchell, he's, the past couple of games, he's had a good average, like a good per touch average. You know, okay, maybe he's fresh because he hasn't played that much this year. So he's like, I don't know, maybe he's got some fresh legs over there. So maybe they start to mix him in a little bit more. But he played against the Seahawks because the 49ers blew them out. And yeah, he averaged 6 yards a carry against Tampa Bay on 4 carries. That like, no, nah, I'm not picking him up even if I have Christian McCaffrey. Because if I lose McCaffrey, if I have McCaffrey and I lose McCaffrey, then I'm just dead. Like, rest in peace. Elijah Mitchell's not going to save you. You could try, but he's not going to save you. So if you have McCaffrey, I guess I could see it, but otherwise, nah, I'm not dropping anybody to pick him up. And you're not dropping Christian Watson. He just had a really strong Thanksgiving. And, with Luke Musgrave's availability for the rest of the season not looking super promising, I mean, Watson's role should only continue to grow. You're not dropping Watson, and I'm not dropping a running back. I don't love Charbonnet tomorrow night, but I'm not dropping him for Josh Downs. No, that's not happening. I like Josh Downs, but the past 3 weeks it's been quiet. 5 for 43, week 11 bye, 2 for 40, 1 catch for 10 yards. Had an excellent 4-game stretch, weeks 5 to 8, and it's not like he's done. Oh, and he had 5 for 43 like week 12. Yeah. I mean, he can still put another couple good performances out there this season, but like trying to predict that at the expense of running back depth, nah. Nah. Start Rico. Oh, sorry. Hang on. I'm a little too far. A little too far ahead. My bad. Oh, the waiver question. Downs. So waivers maybe haven't run yet for you. Okay. Downs, Rice, Watson, and Reed. Christian Watson. I mean, he's the dude with all the upside. We saw it on Thanksgiving. It hasn't been there this year for him, but I don't know. Maybe Christian Watson only shows up for the last 6 games of the year. Maybe that's something he does. Where weeks 1 to 12 you don't hear from him, but then weeks 13 to 18 he's a monster. Maybe. Uh Watson, if you can pick him up, that's who you're picking up. Um After that, I guess Downs. Like had a really good 4-week stretch. He's been productive and decent by NFL standards, not necessarily by fantasy standards, more weeks than not, but he's certainly been involved. He is a regular starter for that team. But I'll take the upside in Watson. And then I guess then I would maybe go Rice second just because he seems to be the only wide receiver in Kansas City that has kind of established himself as anything more than like decently reliable. There's nobody else there after Travis Kelce. So, catching passes from Patrick Mahomes, I mean, Rice should stay relevant most weeks. So I guess I would put him second, then Downs third, and then I would go Reed fourth. Deontay Warren or Watson this week. They have Arizona. I think that's who the Steelers are playing. Are they playing Arizona? They are. Warren, you got to play Jalen Warren and Najee Harris this week. Arizona is the best matchup for opposing running backs on the in the NFL. They allow over a touchdown a game, and that was before Kyron Williams, snatched their souls on Sunday. Did Williams have 3 touchdowns? I think he had 3 touchdowns. They were averaging over a touchdown allowed per game to opposing running backs. The Cardinals were before last week. You are firing up Jalen Warren and Najee Harris as elite plays at running back this week. Okay, now start Rico or Achane if he plays. You want to wait on Achane. You want to wait on Achane. So if Achane can't play, we can figure out a pivot later this week. Someone who plays on Sunday or Monday night. But for Dowdle versus Achane, I mean, we want to hold out on Achane. 100%. We want to hold out on Achane. If Douglas doesn't play, can you start Dotson over Elijah Moore and Miles Sanders? You can only start Dotson if Curtis Samuel doesn't play for the Commanders. See, there's layers to this stuff. Like Dotson on Thanksgiving, he had 5 catches for 52 yards. Like ho hum. Sure, I feel better about it if Curtis Samuel doesn't play. That's when Dotson might actually be able to get involved. But yes, if Dotson is an emergency, like don't have anybody else option like that you have to pivot to, and your alternatives are Elijah Moore and Miles Sanders, then yes, I would play Jahan Dotson. That's fine. Are we holding the Cowboys this week? You're playing the Cowboys this week. You play the Cowboys every week. Seahawks don't have Kenneth Walker. Yeah, you're playing the Cowboys. You're holding the Cowboys in your starting lineup. There's no better option. No, we're not. We're not dropping the Cowboys. We are no. I don't even know what their schedule is. I can't tell you. I don't care. I don't care. Who do they have? They got the Eagles on Sunday night, and they have like a mini bye week going into this game because they'll play tomorrow night. The Eagles play Sunday. The Cowboys will have 10 days rest versus the Eagles 7, and it's at home, and it's a revenge game. Like, you're playing the Cowboys on the road against Buffalo. I know that's a tough spot, but I don't care. Josh Allen has thrown an interception in 8 straight games. You're playing the Cowboys. They're on the road in Miami. Yeah, that's a tough spot. Miami's got a great offense. Tyreek Hill is an electric playmaker, best in the league. We can have that conversation when that time gets to it, but you're not dropping the Cowboys. No. 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 Don't overthink it. No. Oh, the question was about no. You got to get to Daba. You got to get to week 16 before you worry about playing in week 16. I need a guy. Yeah, I need a guy who I need those 2 guys more than that one guy to get to week 16. You got to get there first. We can only look so far ahead. You start looking too far ahead, you miss the boat. You get knocked out in the first round, all of a sudden, looking ahead next week doesn't matter so much. We gotta get there before we worry about it. Uh, the Jamar Smith or the Jamar ankle sprain. I don't know who. Wait, who are we talking about here? Oh, Jamar Jefferson. I don't or no. I don't know. I'm not sure who that's in reference to. Yeah, sorry, I'm not sure. Okay, I got through my members. I think I'm down close to the bottom. I don't think I missed anybody. If I did, let me know, but I don't think I missed anybody. I'm down now at the bottom of the chat. Should you start DK or James Conner? So DK tomorrow night in a tough matchup, or Conner. The Cardinals are on the road against Pittsburgh. That's not a great spot. Man, I guess Metcalf, because the Seahawks will be throwing. It's not a good matchup, but they are 11. The last time I saw, the Seahawks were 11-point underdogs tomorrow night against Dallas. I mean, y'all know what that means. If you're an underdog, you're probably going to throw. Even if they have a lead, Seattle needs to throw. They have to stay aggressive on the road. And I don't know that anybody in particular is expecting the Seahawks to have a lead at any point tomorrow, especially considering they're 11-point underdogs. I would just say Metcalf. Let's see. 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a flex. Um, you start Pollard tomorrow night. I would start ETN against the Bengals. Man, Charbonnet makes me nervous. Charbonnet makes me nervous. I don't like that spot for him tomorrow night. Um, I don't like the matchup. I would go Pollard, ETN, and Brees. They get the Falcons at home. Pollard and ETN are your running backs. Let's just get that out of the way. Pollard and ETN are the 2 guys in your running back spots. Your 2 wide receivers. Chase is 1. Um, and honestly, with Olave down, I would go Sutton. Hopkins has been inconsistent with the rookie quarterback. Downs has been quiet the past couple weeks. Olave's not going to play. And then Amari Cooper's been bad without Deshaun Watson. So Chase and Sutton are your 2 wide receivers. And then I think I would put Brees, not Zach Charbonnet. I would put Brees Hall in your flex. That's what I would do. Or no, sorry. You put Pollard and Hall in your running back spots. You put ETN in your flex because ETN doesn't play until Monday night. Always maximize your flex. Use that for the last guy in your lineup. You never know what happens. You never know what you might have to pivot to. I always put my Monday night players in my flex. That's just a, standard procedure for me. I like to put the players going the latest, put them in the flex, maximize the literal flexibility of the spot. Never know what random injury might happen or might get picked up. And then that way, your next best option in the flex could be a different position than the one you originally had in there. So Pollard, RB1, in the RB1 spot, Hall in another RB spot, ETN in the flex, and then Chase and Sutton are your wide receivers. Chase also plays on Monday night, but you got to fill those wide receiver spots first and foremost. Geno has been bad. There's no doubt. And it's not a good spot for him tomorrow, but at least he'll be throwing. Game script is in his favor. To that point, though, if you're worried about the bad matchup and Geno's not been as good as he was last year, Lockett's been inconsistent. He's been up and down. I would just go Sutton. Sutton's having a great year. I always thought Jerry Jeudy was that team's wide receiver 1 and was going to be that team's wide receiver 1. And all he needed to do was stay healthy. And that would just come to fruition naturally. It hasn't. It's Courtland Sutton. Sutton is that team's wide receiver 1. He's got 5 targets in at least 5 targets in his past 3 games. Um, and 5 out of his last 6 games, he's had at least 5 targets. He didn't catch a touchdown last week for the first time in 5 weeks, but that was a tough matchup. Didn't catch a touchdown, tough matchup at home against Cleveland. Still had 3 catches for 61 yards. It's serviceable flex line. It's not your favorite line, but it's not a zero. Prior to that, he had caught a touchdown in 5 straight games. He's playing in Houston. There could be points scored in that game. These are 2 suddenly offenses playing pretty well. I'll take Sutton. And yes, Dalton Schultz, Greg, is a drop. If you have Laporta, Dalton Schultz is a drop. Pick up another running back or a wide receiver. I have that same logic for quarterbacks in 1 quarterback leagues and then kickers and defenses. If you have 2, you have 1 too many. Find a defense and stick with it. Find a kicker and stick with it. Find a quarterback and stick with it. Find a tight end and stick with it. You found Laporta. Congratulations. Laporta is, the drafted tight end of the year as far as value and all that good stuff. You don't need Dalton Schultz. You don't need Dalton Schultz. You need knock on wood, you only need a tight end if something happens to Laporta. And as long as Laporta is coming to each week healthy, he's not coming out of your lineup. So yeah, Dalton Schultz is a drop for any running back or wide receiver that might make sense for better depth. Yeah. Unless you've got Josh Allen or maybe you're sticking it out with Justin Fields and you got a bye week and Lamar Jackson, there should only be 1 quarterback on your roster in 1 quarterback leagues. Same with tight ends, kickers, and defenses. Am I starting Cooper? Not really trying to. Which one, Cooper Kupp or Amari Cooper? The answer is neither, to be honest. I don't want to play either one of those guys. Amari Cooper does not. I think this is Amari Cooper. He has not been good without Deshaun Watson. It's been bad. Yeah, it has not been good. So, no, I'm looking to avoid him everywhere this week. I am at the end of the chat. If any other last minute questions come in, I will be sure to take them. But I guess I'm wrapping this stream up shortly. I will be live again tomorrow night, same time, 6 p.m. Eastern, ahead of the Thursday night game between the Cowboys and the Seahawks. So we can talk shop there and finalize anything as far as your lineup and as it pertains to the Thursday night matchup. If you miss me here, hit me in Discord. Second link in the description of this live stream and all videos on my channel. It's free to join. You can crowdsource questions and or help people, whatever you want to do in the Discord. It's a fun little community over there. And if you happen to like the stream or like the channel, like we see with from the channel, there are membership opportunities available, which include jumping the line when asking for questions. First link in the description of this stream if you are interested. There are more details there. And of course, you could ask any questions to me in the Discord if you choose to. But I think that'll do it for me tonight. Appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out. Happy I was able to get a stream in, even though I was a little under the weather yesterday, but this ain't the time of year for taking too many breaks. We got to figure stuff out with the fantasy playoffs only a couple weeks away. And so to that point, I got you guys tomorrow night. Same time, same place, 6 p.m. Eastern. Enjoy the rest of your nights, guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.